I am so happy with how this looks for the Rangers. We have a pitcher, Jack Leiter, and he is a dude.
Athletic enough to get to any ball. And while I do think his hitting is worse than Derek Jeter, it's not that far off.
So he reached double digits. The big question has been answered.
It just leaves it to where I don't believe that the Canadians had a shot.
The steal of the draft is Will Taylor to the Texas Rangers in the 19th round after he signs with them.
We'll see what happens during his career. It's important to keep his Scotty around Chris Middleton. It's important to keep his Dennis Rodman, which I believe is like Drew Holiday, another important defender, a guy who's a team builder. And maybe that's PJ Tucker. I don't know who's the Dennis Rodman of the team.
I really don't like the Clippers just kind of sending it in when they're like, good job, Manfred. You won't get many of those for the rest of the year.
And you can quote this on me. There is no way the Orioles or Red Sox make the playoffs this season. There's no way. There's no way.
You're not mentioning 2006. You can mention the other people. Not 2006. You already took your math shot.
Well, it's also like you think, oh, just because I bought the best soap doesn't mean your room's going to be clean. Just because you bought the best vacuum doesn't mean the floor is going to be not dirty.
And then you have the Diamondbacks. And then Giants, I have them above the Rockies because I don't have any idea what the Rockies are doing.
Sam Bennett's someone I really expected to be a better player.
There will be a Rodgers playing for Green Bay, even though he may not be the quarterback. But it's still unknown there. Austin is giving me the dead stare, so I guess don't mention Aaron Rodgers to him right now.
Yeah, so we can compare a rookie QB to a toddler.
Corey Perry will give some veteran presence to the Canadians and to just help give some insights on what he did last year.
I agree 100%, and the reason why I agree is because this is a terrible trade for the long term.
What would you have said if I bet you $100 at the end of the round robin and start of the playoffs that the Stars would be in the Stanley Cup playoffs, or Stanley Cup finals?
Hi, this is Kelly Forbes with the Dallas Stars, and you're listening to Outsiders Opinions with Kevin and Austin.
What's up, y'all? Welcome to our NFL Opinions of the Week, first one of March for March 6th. A lot has happened. Austin and I were talking about this before, but we'll go over all the news. Let's start with the QB news. Russell Wilson to the Broncos, Rodgers staying with the Packers, and then the Wentz went to the Commanders, which is very interesting for what they sent 2 third-round picks, and I think 1 third-round pick can turn into a second. And I really don't understand this move from the Commanders because you have Fitzpatrick, and I really like Taylor Heineke. I think he's a good QB, and I find it troubling that one season after trading for Wentz, the Colts dumped him. And the Colts was kind of like the last option because Frank Reich was the OC when he was the MVP. So I wouldn't be willing to trade for him because the guy who's supposed to fix him left him. He's like, yeah, I can't do this with you, which is very troubling. And I really don't understand what they're doing at QB, if that makes sense.
I wholeheartedly agree. Wentz, I would trade for Wentz if Wentz was worth much, much less. But from what I heard, it's 2/3, but the third that can turn into a second is if Washington makes the playoffs, which I don't know if that's necessarily possible with Wentz at QB. It's a whole new system. Ron Rivera is not an offensive coach, so it kind of hurts his chances. Not saying that an defensive head coach can't have a good QB. It just takes longer to get ingrained to the system with the offensive coordinator. But yeah, I agree. I would have kept Taylor Heineke as a starter for another season for 2 reasons. One, Carson Wentz, we don't know how he's going to play now that he's been traded again. He played questionable last year when the games mattered against Jacksonville. He had a game against the Bucs where he lost. He didn't seem to arise to the biggest moments. And then 2, Taylor Heineke's had moments of his own. We've seen him in the playoffs against the Bucs have a great performance. And I really believe that the injuries were the reason why Washington Commanders were not good last season. Like Chase Young being out for half the year and was going to be out for the rest of the year if they made the playoff season, even. So I don't really agree with this move, and I think it could hinder their ability to pick up key draft needs because 2/3 is very, very valuable.
Yeah, and to your point, um, Washington also has Fitzmagic. So like you could have a quarterback battle between Heineke or Fitzmagic, but they did try to get Russell Wilson, and I understand that because Russell Wilson is a fantastic QB. He just had an injury year last year, but it's almost seemed like, oh, we didn't get Russell Wilson, we got to go get a QB. Okay, we'll take Wentz. And to
I
me,
saw
that's not a
this.
right move.
I saw this explained by Ryan Leaf on the Rich Eisen show while Rich Eisen was at the combine. Teams get a fear of missing out, on that franchise QB, whether it's in the draft, where he was explaining in the drafts, but other teams do it also. Here, we are seeing a team get really, really nervous that they don't have an up and coming starter that they believe in. And trading for someone, while I don't necessarily believe that it's the best move, at least gives the fans something to talk about and something to maybe not fully believe in, but something that they can be like, okay, we're actually doing something. But I still don't think that's the right way to move about because doing that, you're forced your hand. Now Carson Wentz has to start, even if Taylor Heineke plays better in the preseason. You have to start uh, Wentz, or the trade is worthless because you gave up 2 third-round picks, and if you make the playoffs, a third and a second, and that hinders your abilities to build for the future. I think quarterbacks, a franchise QB is overrated in my mind, mainly because if you don't have everything else around him, you're going to have a Matthew Stafford situation where they never win. You need to build around your QB before you decide, oh, let's go get a franchise QB. There has to be pieces set in, unless it's like uh, you just have to have everything built around your QB before you make a move like that. And I don't think it's done. They still have a lot of moves they have to make. And right now, I don't think they've done what they needed to.
So I see your point. To me, um, I would trade for a franchise QB, but I agree with your point. I would want, before I make my choice as a franchise QB, I want to have him in the best environment. So I would like I understand, like if it's a QB where I know I'm gonna like it's a once in a lifetime talent or an incredible talent like Joe Burrow, then I do take that and then make sure I do everything I can to build a line and give him a pass catcher. And to me, the Bengals, if we're going to go with the Joe Burrow example, have given him a pass catcher, given multiple pass catchers, but they have yet to fulfill their promise of giving Joe Burrow a line. Because to me, a franchise QB can change. He can elevate players around him, like Aaron Rodgers. He does have Devontae Adams. He is the best wide receiver in the league. Um, I've come around to that. But before Adams, there was Nelson. But to me, the right QB can make the right pass for a good enough wide receiver to make the catch. And that's what to me makes a franchise altering QB. Because in my opinion, I think there are only a few franchise QBs right now. Rodgers, Mahomes, Burrow, and Herbert. And
You
I
don't
think
think
I'll put
Wilson,
Wilson. I'll put Wilson.
Lamar,
And then I know I'm forgetting. Who am I forgetting?
Lamar?
Maybe, yeah, I think I'll put Lamar in there too because he elevates the entire offense. I left off a couple of QBs. Maybe Kyler. I don't know. There, Kyler's in my iffy
No, I
area
wouldn't put. I wouldn't put Kyler.
because Dak is definitely not a franchise QB because he needs a fantastic offense to make the like we've seen him without Amari, and Amari elevates Dak, and that's why it was a good trade when they made for it. But so I would do everything I can to build around him, then get the QB. But I understand trading for a QB, and to your point, like you were talking about, like they need to do something. I think this is also an effect from the Super Bowl. The Rams won the Super Bowl, and they don't have any high picks in the next few years. They traded it all away to get proven players, and I think the Broncos, as we transition to that trade, they saw, okay, what are we missing? What do we believe we're missing? We're missing a QB. How much will it take to get Wilson? Okay, we're willing to give up those first round picks because we saw what the Rams just did with Stafford. And the first year they have Stafford with a great defense, they won the Super Bowl. So I think we're going to start seeing more trades, and I think it's starting to happen because Khalil Mack was traded from the Bears, and I think that was a little bit underpaid. But let's go right into the Russell Wilson trade, and then we'll go to the Khalil Mack trade if you're okay with that. With Russell Wilson, the Broncos need to fix their line, so go go sign everyone. There are some good guards out there. Roger Saffold just got cut, so maybe you can sign him for cheap. You could go after Connor Williams. You could maybe trade for a tackle. Maybe Leo Collins is on the market apparently from the Cowboys, so go trade for him too. So it's almost like what the Chiefs did last year when they traded for offensive line. Okay, we found what we think was wrong and why we lost the Super Bowl, so let's go change that. It's very interesting to see what the Broncos are doing and how they will do next season, depending on if they fix their offensive line. But I do think they'll be better because Wilson has performed without a line, and he does have some good wide receivers.
Yeah. I just don't know if the Broncos have enough experience on the team besides Wilson. They have very little when it comes to veteran teachers after they lost Von Miller, and I think Von Miller may return, and that would be key.
Yeah, I was about to bring that up. Von Miller is a free agent, so maybe they go sign him. They definitely, I think, are going to make more moves, and I do like the addition of Wilson. I'm a little worried about the pass catchers because they're young. You have Sutton, but you just lost Noah Fant because you traded him away, and Judy still young. KJ Hamler, still young, but I'm wondering how Wilson will do with that. Just compared to DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett, I don't know how well the wide receivers are going to perform. Do you share similar sentiments?
Yeah, I would say so. I like some of the players on their team, but I don't necessarily know whether or not they can be a force when it comes playoff time because a lot of people have been very good in the regular season and struggle when it comes to the playoffs. We've seen that with a lot of players recently speaking because, I mean, just look at, well, Aaron Rodgers for that matter. He has not played well recently in the playoffs, and that has been a conversation starter for a number of people. And we've also seen it with a lot of other people uh, coming into the playoffs, and we don't know how the team's going to react. Now, Russell Wilson is a great leader. If you were watching the Peyton and Eli show Monday night when he was talking about during the playoff game with the Rams versus Cardinals, he was talking about how Kyler should be going up and down the sideline, telling everybody, "Hey, we're still in this," and then they cut to Kyler, and Kyler's just sitting on the bench moping. So I believe that Russell Wilson is a talented leader. Obviously, he's already won a Super Bowl, been to two Super Bowls, but now he's got to do it with a whole new team.
Yeah, I agree. It'll be very interesting. And now the AFC West is shaping up to be an incredible division. I'm not sure how the Raiders do this, and I'm interested in what we'll get to what I think the Raiders might do, even though the extension for Max Crosby kind of contradicts what I was thinking. But the Chargers just traded for Khalil Mack. It only took a second and 6th round pick. To me, I know he's dealt with injuries, but I felt like no first is pretty interesting, or pretty. I would have asked for a first since it's Khalil Mack, and now you're pairing him up with Joey Bosa with Brandon Staley, who while I have reservations of him being a head coach, defensively he did incredible when he had such great pieces like Aaron Donald and Jalen Ramsey at corner. So maybe would like to see something better at corner for the Chargers, but you can't deny that pairing of Khalil Mack and Joey Bosa. What are your thoughts on the trade, Austin?
I have to think. I don't necessarily like the trade, mainly because Khalil Mack has struggled, recently speaking, with the Bears, and that was on a great defensive team where Robert Quinn set the Bears record for sacks in a season. So I don't necessarily know if Mack still has it. Now, I'm not going to doubt that he can bring it back with a good team. A lot of players have done that before where they've been on a not great performing team and then have brought it back to their prime because of the players that were on it and the place where the team was heading. But I don't necessarily know.
Okay. So you would be fine. Do with what you feel about Mac? Do you think a second and 6th round pick may have been too much?
Yes, I think
Really,
a second. Yes,
a second was too much.
I'm fine with. I would probably do. I do 2 5ths and a sixth.
Really? Wow.
I wouldn't. You already have Bosa. Your defensive line was not the issue why you lost last season. The not made the playoffs, I should say. That was not the reason. I think they're addressing the wrong issues.
I can see your point. I would counter that point with saying you can never have too much pressure. So if I can go, if it's going to cost me a second and a 6th, I would argue I'm fine with that because um, I can mess around with these guys and put pressure on the QBs, Russell Wilson and Mahomes, in my division. And then I can go to the AFC. Like, I have to get pressure to Burrow if I want to get him. And the more pressure I
Do
have,
you
the
really
less
need a
coverage I have
great?
to do.
Oh, I don't think you really need a great D line right now to get to Burrow, but I understand your point.
Well, yes, I do see your point. Mostly Mahomes, if we want to stay in the division, and Wilson. So that's my
Yeah,
counterpoint.
I see your point, but at the, with the same token, you got to think. I would just address issues that are more pertinent, and I don't know if that's the most pertinent issue right now.
I can see your point as well. I think maybe one issue is maybe dial back on the 4th and 1s, like in your own 20. That's like that's a little bit too extreme, even for someone who I know I'm conservative with my play
You're
calling.
extremely conservative.
Not extremely.
You're pretty conservative.
I wouldn't. I would say extremely conservative is Jason Garrett. Um, I think I'm in between Jason Garrett and Mike McCarthy. I don't know if I think I'm leaning a little bit towards Mike McCarthy, but I don't think I'll ever be in the same universe or same ballpark as Staley.
I don't know. You're pretty. I'm very. I consider myself to be extremely risky when it comes to those type of deals. But
I don't think you're on the level of Staley.
no, I would not have played the way he did.
Yeah. So I can now, like, I'm getting used to it. I'm like, okay, go for 4th there. If it's like 4th and 1, I can do that. But and that's probably one thing I'll do. But I can see what they're doing, and then now we'll go to the Raiders. Just like stay on the AFC West. Do you think they trade Carr?
No,
No. Okay. I was
I don't
considering
think
it.
they would get. I don't think they would get enough.
You don't think they would get much?
Get enough. I don't think there's enough good QBs out there right now for him to get for them to pick up a new QB unless they're deciding to draft somebody and build for the future. I don't see what they do.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. But now with the Max Crosby signing, I'm like, okay, it looks like they want to be competitive in this division because I thought the Colts could be a team that gives up a lot to get Derek Carr. But now with the Max Crosby thing, that kind of messed with my idea. Now it wouldn't make sense because you would let Crosby go and then just decide to build for the future because it's going to be a very difficult division already. So I didn't know if they just want to go, okay, you know what, we're going to sit back because I think the Colts would be willing to overpay for a QB. What do you think about that?
Would the Colts be willing to overpay a QB? I think they're drafting somebody, but yes, I do think they would be willing to, but I don't know if they would. I think they'd be willing to, but it again have to be the right player.
Really? I would think Derek Carr would work, but I'm more leaning toward Jimmy Garoppolo. Like that may be their guy.
Another trade we need to go over here that is the Kirk Cousins trade to the Dolphins.
Wait, like possible trade or did that actually happened? I totally missed this.
While I talk about it, you look it up, but I'm 99.9% sure Kirk Cousins is on the Dolphins and Tua was traded to the Vikings. But if I'm wrong,
When
I'm
did
wrong.
this happen?
Like 2 days ago.
Okay, I don't think this actually happened. I think there are rumors. I think there are rumors because I am not seeing anything.
Interesting. Because I thought I heard this happen.
I would be very surprised. He could be traded as well because the Vikings may go like, "Hey, we need to figure stuff out." Like I could maybe see him reuniting in Cleveland, with Kevin Stefanski. Was that one of his best years when Stefanski was his OC?
Yeah, but I mean, he's had a lot of good
Let me
years.
look that up.
I think the Dolphins would be a good matchup for him. I think the Browns, I agree. I think the Steelers would probably be his best fit, though.
Really, I would push back against that. I think best fit would be with Stefanski because Stefanski knows how to get Cousins being the good Cousins.
Yes, but there's not that many pass catchers there. They have Landry, and I don't really like Njoku who got tagged. I'm not a big fan of him. So I think with Freiermuth, Claypool, Juju, I think he's going to resign, and
Okay.
Deontay Johnson. I think the Steelers is a much better fit, and the Steelers obviously have a much better defense than the Browns, or at least
They do.
no, yeah, they do. Yeah.
I
Well,
was thinking
the only issue with the Steelers defense is their corners, so they can't. They're not a good run defense team because they don't have. They're slacking, but the defenses are close. I would still take the Steelers by a little bit because the defensive line with Cam Hayward and T.J. Watt is menacing.
to me, when I look at Cousins, I see a guy that can often turn over the ball. So for the Steelers, I think you would either want Jimmy Garoppolo. Oh yeah, you would want Jimmy Garoppolo. That's your only chance. And same thing with the Colts. You want a guy who's not going to lose you the game, but necessarily won't win you the game either. And I think Cousins, he can play well, but to me, he makes some weird decisions, and
I'm trying to
it
find
depends
out
on the
like
coaching
these
staff.
decisions.
What?
I'm trying to think about these decisions you're talking about.
To me, when I look at the Steelers, they want a guy that will not lose them the game, and I think Jimmy Garoppolo will not lose them the game. He won't
Well, I
win
mean,
them the game either.
if we look last season, Kirk Cousins threw 33 touchdowns and only had 7 picks. It's not like he throws that many interceptions.
But in the key moments, to me, I really don't trust Kirk Cousins. I think he's just going to make the wrong move.
I disagree.
I know. You and I have very differing opinions on Kirk Cousins. But
I
to
don't
me, with the
understand
Browns,
how
he would make sense because he has a
I still
relationship
think
with Kevin Stefanski.
I'm gonna stick with my Steelers as the best fit.
Okay, I really don't know if you think the Colts are going to draft a QB, then Garoppolo would go to the Steelers, in my view. But to me, this also shows, from what I've been hearing, is a lot of people do not like the QB draft class this year. There's no like definitive number one.
That's
I think
true. I think Malik Willis is the best QB in the draft.
I have not done much research to know. I'm not a huge fan of Pickett. I really like Desmond Ridder, but I don't know if he's the best QB. I haven't done a lot of research on Malik Willis. So I think it would be very interesting because there are other QBs who want to go to the Bears. Dalton, Foles is still there. They might get cut or traded. You also have Teddy Bridgewater with the Broncos. You got Fitzmagic. I would call Washington and ask them, like, hey, what would it take to get Heineke? I probably wouldn't go above a 5th-round pick, but if they said, well, if you give us a 5th, we'll give you Heineke, I'd probably jump on that deal. I am pretty high on Heineke. Do you agree with that? 5th-round pick for Heineke?
Yeah, I'm cool with that for both sides.
Yeah,
But
because
Heineke deserves.
It's clear.
What were you say?
What were you gonna say?
Well, I was gonna say Heineke deserves to be traded so that he can at least have an opportunity at a starting job. Because, like I said, Carson Wentz has to start, or the 2/3 is useless.
Because I feel Heineke can be or has the potential to be a starter in this league.
I'd agree with that.
Like, I think I can name, like, maybe Seattle, maybe Colts. To me, I think the Colts are going to try to get a QB because you have Jonathan Taylor, you have a good defense, you have a good line. You just need a QB that won't lose you the game. And that's why I understand why they moved on from Wentz, because Wentz lost them games. Like, he almost threw away the Patriots game when the Colts still beat them because of Jonathan Taylor. So that's just my view. I also think Fitzmagic would be a nice addition. But we've talked enough about QBs. We can go into the tags. So Dalton Schultz was tagged by the Cowboys. Devontae Adams was tagged by the Packers. David Njoku was tagged by the Browns. Godwin was tagged once again by the sorry, did you check your ESPN notifications, Austin, while I read off these lists? Njoku was tagged by the Browns.
Yeah. Texans QB Deshaun Watson won't face criminal charges in connection with sexual assault / harassment allegations. That was my ESPN thing.
That was your ESPN notification. So I think that, regardless of how we feel about Deshaun Watson, I think that now enters a new name in the QB race.
I agree.
So because
that was my only knock against him, is that whether or not you think he's guilty or not, will he face charges? And that's something that will obviously, if you like him or don't like him, you can't sign him if he's in jail. But now it seems like he's going to be clear, and I would argue that teams will today start making preparations to try to get him.
Yeah, so maybe Steelers, maybe Dolphins.
I would say Dolphins is the best fit.
Shoot, I keep forgetting the Dolphins. Flores is not the coach of the Dolphins. I keep forgetting about that.
Yeah, it's Mike McDaniel.
They filled?
Mike McDaniel.
Oh, yeah, it's Mike McDaniel. That's who it is. It's interesting. Well, I wonder how that plays out. So that's another thing. We'll definitely keep an eye on it. I do agree. I think a team's going to make a push. Maybe it's Philadelphia because they have ammunition.
No.
Why no?
Because they made the playoffs with Jalen Hurts, and I feel like they believe that he's the guy. I would not make that move if I was the Eagles, because we made the playoffs with Jalen Hurts. You need QB continuity for your receivers, running back, for your team, because they're a leader on your team. And if you made the playoffs with a QB, I would argue you should, especially because they didn't make the playoffs the year before and had no expectation from you or I to make the playoffs. We both had them, I think, as worse in the division. We were both wrong.
I think we're right. I think you're right about that.
Yeah, we were both wrong, and I believe that they should stick with Jalen Hurts. Even though I don't like Jalen Hurts because I don't believe he has enough in the bag passing wise to be a premier QB in this league. He proved me wrong last year, and I'm willing to bite the bullet and him be the starter all next year.
Okay. So let's go back to the QB talk again. So I think the market. So it was 2 first-round picks, 2 second-round picks for Wilson, who's won a Super Bowl. It was 2 first-round picks and Jared Goff, to the Rams.
They also
Where?
traded someone in that. They also traded a person in that. I can't remember
Okay.
who.
It was Jared
From the
Goff.
Rams to what? No, they traded like a defensive player.
Okay. I'll look that up. But what is the market for Deshaun Watson? Because he's, in my opinion, he's less than Wilson because Wilson's won a Super Bowl. So it adds
Well,
to the
Wilson's
resume.
just a better QB, so.
Well, yeah, I think he's better QB, and he also has won a Super Bowl, so that I would demand more if I'm going to trade Wilson. And maybe a first round, like you have to include a first round pick, but I don't know if you do a second one for Watson. What are your?
I think it's
thoughts on
probably. I think it's probably 2 firsts, but no extra other picks. Like 2 firsts and a fifth is probably what I'm thinking.
that? Okay. Okay, I cannot find the other player.
Just search up Jared Goff. Here,
I'm looking at
you
it.
talk
It
about it. You
said
talk about it.
the Detroit Lions were trading Matthew Stafford to the Rams in exchange for quarterback Jared Goff, 2 first-round picks and 3rd-round pick. They did then trade Michael Brockers to the
The
Lions.
Lions. Yeah, that's the guy.
But I think it was a separate trade, or was it a late add-in?
I think it was a late add-in. I'm pretty sure they got
Okay.
moved literally in the same.
Well,
year.
I remember Michael Brockers said he didn't like Jared Goff, and then an hour later he was on the Lions with Jared Goff once again.
Yeah, it's basically the same deal. Even if it was
Okay.
an hour away, I'm
Okay.
pretty sure he could have added that into the other trade.
Okay, so back to the tags. I understand what you're saying about Njoku. I personally don't like the Dalton Schultz deal because I think the Cowboys have way too much money invested in the offense already, so I don't want to invest it again. Especially when there are players I would like them to sign, but the Cowboys do not make good football decisions, so they are not going to do what I want them to do. So Njoku doesn't make sense because he's your second tight end, and you already have a lot of money paid towards Austin Hooper. So
yeah, that's why I don't like it.
Yeah. The Adams tag makes sense for a player standpoint. I don't know how you're going to make it work in the money, but y'all will find a way, and it'll be interesting to see. So, and then Godwin, I'm wondering, I'm not sure if it's is it an exclusive tag? Because there are different tags in the NFL.
The tags are really confusing to me. I don't really understand them all that well.
Okay. So I know. Okay, I'm looking at non-exclusive tags, which is the ones. Oh wait, it's just explaining it. A non-exclusive tag means you can trade that player. I'm trying to see. I think it's a franchise tag, so it's not an exclusive tag. So I think they're going to try to see if they can keep Godwin. And that's
well, you said it wasn't exclusive, and exclusive means that you can't trade him, so they could.
If it's non-exclusive, you can trade him. If it's
you just said it wasn't exclusive.
Oh, it wasn't non-exclusive. I meant to say.
Got it.
So he can't be traded. So I'm interested to see what happens with there. Bengals also tagged Jesse Bates. Jags tagged Robinson, which is interesting. Chiefs tagged Orlando Brown. And the Dolphins tagged Gesicki. So I'm very curious how the tight end market shapes out because a lot of them are on tags. So it will be very interesting to see. Any thoughts on the tags, Austin?
All the others make sense. I like the Gesicki tag because I believe he's about worth what the tag is. So I don't think it's all that risky. And if he gets injured or anything, you don't have to bring him back for next year.
Yeah, I agree with that. Now, on players released, Tariq Cohen was released, but the main player I'm looking at that was released is Bobby Wagner. I feel Bobby Wagner is going to have a heck of a market. He is rumored to be with the Cowboys, but I don't think it's going to happen because I don't think the Cowboys are going to offer him the right amount of money because he was on the second All Pro team last year. So, and he's still very productive. So I would try to sign him. He probably going to go to a team that he can win the Super Bowl with. So it also kicks out the Cowboys. Maybe Packers. I don't know if that works. I really don't want the Packers to sign him because that would be annoying. Sorry, not sorry, Austin, but maybe Broncos. Maybe he joins up with Russell Wilson because I feel Bobby Wagner is a fantastic linebacker. Given his age, it's probably a 1 to 2 year deal. What are your thoughts on Wagner?
I think it's a 1-year deal because you don't know how he's going to adjust to the new defensive system. I would sign him to a 1-year deal if I was signing him. A hefty 1-year deal.
Like 1 year, 10 million? That's probably as much as I'm willing to go.
I would say I'd be willing to go 12.
You go 12? Okay, I can see that. Yeah, so that's pretty much it. It's going to be a wild offseason as Cowboys are looking to trade Cooper while saying they were going to cut him. And then draft is going to be coming around the corner. Any final thoughts? Do you want to, next time we record, Austin, for NFL opinions, do you think Watson will be in a new jersey?
Yes. Well, win by.
Next time we record. So next week.
Oh, no.
No. Okay. I think I'm going to say yes. That by the next time we record, Deshaun Watson will be traded. But so we'll end it on that. And thank you for listening and be on the lookout for other videos from Outsiders Opinions.